Alright guys, I'm back with another chapter in 2 Kings. We're in 2 Kings chapter 10 where the header reads, Jehu kills Ahab's family. And we'll get right into it. Ahab had 70 sons living in the city of Samaria. So Jehu wrote letters and sent them to Samaria, to the elders and officials of the city, and to the guardians of King Ahab's sons. He said, The king's sons are with you, and you have at your disposal chariots, horses, a fortified city, and weapons. As soon as you receive this letter, select the best qualified of your master's sons to be your king, and prepare to fight for Ahab's dynasty. But they were paralyzed with fear and said, We've seen that 2 kings couldn't stand against this man. What can we do? So the palace and city administrators, together with the elders and the guardians of the king's sons, sent this message to Jehu. We are your servants and will do anything you tell us. We will not make anyone king. Do whatever you think is best. Jehu responded with a second letter. If you are on my side and are going to obey me, bring the heads of your master's sons to me at Jezreel by this time tomorrow. Now the 70 sons of the king were being cared for by the leaders of Samaria, where they had been raised since childhood. When the letter arrived, the leaders killed all 70 of the king's sons. They placed their heads in baskets and presented them to Jehu at Jezreel. A messenger went to Jehu and said, They have brought the heads of the king's sons. So Jehu ordered, Pile them into 2 heaps at the entrance of the city gate, and leave them there until morning. In the morning he went out and spoke to the crowd that had gathered around them. You are not to blame, he told them. I am the one who conspired against my master and killed him. But who killed all these? You can be sure that the message of the Lord was spoken concerning Ahab's family will not fail. So you can be sure that the message of the Lord that was spoken, concerning Ahab's family will not fail. And that was the message that we had received previously about the downfall of all of his descendants, including Jezebel. The Lord declared through his servant Elijah that this would happen. Then Jehu killed all who were left of Ahab's relatives living in Jezreel, and all his important officials, his personal friends, and his priests. So Ahab was left without a single survivor. Then Jehu set out for Samaria. Along the way, while he was at Beth-eked, I think that's how you pronounce that, that's a tough one, of the shepherds, he met some relatives of King Ahaziah of Judah. Who are you? He asked them, and they replied, We are relatives of King Ahaziah. We are going to visit the sons of King Ahab and the sons of the queen mother. Take them alive, Jehu shouted to his men, and they captured all 42 of them, and killed them at the well of Beth-eked. I do not know how to pronounce that. B-E-T-H, Beth, E-K-E-D, Eked. I'm going to assume Beth-eked. None of them escaped. When Jehu left there, he met Jehonadab, son of Rechab, who was coming to meet him. After they had greeted each other, Jehu said to him, Are you as loyal to me as I am to you? Yes, I am, Jehonadab replied. If you are, Jehu said, then give me your hand. So Jehonadab put out his hand, and Jehu helped him into the chariot. Then Jehu said, Now come with me and see how devoted I am to the Lord. So Jehonadab rode along with him. When Jehu arrived in Samaria, he killed everyone who was left there from Ahab's family, just as the Lord had promised through Elijah. Then Jehu called a meeting of all the people of the city and said to them, Ahab's worship of Baal was nothing compared to the way I will worship him. Therefore summon all the prophets and worshippers of Baal and call together all his priests. See to it that every one of them comes, for I am going to offer a great sacrifice to Baal. Anyone who fails to come will be put to death. But Jehu's cunning plan was to destroy all the worshippers of Baal. Then Jehu ordered, Prepare a solemn assembly to worship Baal. So they did. He sent messengers throughout all Israel summoning those who worship Baal. They all came, not a single one remained behind. And they filled the temple of Baal from one end to the other. And Jehu instructed the keeper of the wardrobe Be sure that every worshipper of Baal wears one of these robes." So robes were given to them. Then Jehu went into the temple of Baal with Jehonadab, son of Rechab. Jehu said to the worshippers of Baal, "Make sure no one who worships the Lord is here, only those who worship Baal." So they were all inside the temple to offer sacrifices and burnt offerings. Now Jehu had stationed 80 of his men inside the building and had warned them, "If you let anyone escape, you will pay for it with your own life." As soon as Jehu had finished sacrificing the burnt offering, he commanded his guards and officers, "Go in and kill all of them. Don't let a single one escape." So they killed all with their swords, and the guards and officers dragged their bodies outside. Then Jehu's men went into the innermost fortress of the temple of Baal. They dragged out the sacred pillar used in the worship of Baal and burned it. They smashed the sacred pillar and wrecked the temple of Baal, converting it into a public toilet, as it remains to this day. In this way, Jehu destroyed every trace of Baal worship from Israel. He did not, however, destroy the gold calves at Bethel and Dan, with which Jeroboam, son of Nebat, had caused Israel to sin. Nonetheless, the Lord said to Jehu, "You have done well in following my instructions to destroy the family of Ahab. Therefore your descendants will be kings of Israel down to the 4th generation." But Jehu did not obey the law of the Lord, the God of Israel, with all his heart. He refused to turn from the sins that Jeroboam had led Israel to commit. At about that time, the Lord began to cut down the size of Israel's territory. King Hazael conquered several sections of the country east of the Jordan River, including all of Gilead, Gad, Reuben, and Manasseh. He conquered the area from the town of Aroer by the Arnon Gorge to as far north as Gilead and Bashan. The rest of the events in Jehu's reign, everything he did and all his achievements, are recorded in the book of the history of the kings of Israel. When Jehu died, he was buried in Samaria. Then his son Jehoahaz, I think that's a tough one too, became the next king. In all, Jehu reigned over Israel and Samaria for 28 years. And so that is the end of chapter 10, guys. One thing that brings me peace in reading these scriptures is how God uses us to bring forth his will. And that's the good and the bad. And it's very interesting because I can only see it. When I read, I feel like the Spirit's talking to me because it gives me discernment. I understand these passages, at least for me. I wouldn't begin to say that to evangelize, that I have it down to a fundamental level that I could speak to everyone and they'd share that understanding. But for me, as I read it, it touches my heart in certain places to where there was always such doubt as to why things happen the way that they do, or how God uses all the bad things for our good. And things like there's so many examples as you read through the Old Testament of how someone's fall, and I don't mean fall like a mistake or a mishappening. I mean like a fall from Christ. They clearly made a decision to separate themselves, and how God used it for the good of everybody. Not in that moment sometimes, but that moment led to the either refining of another or the downfall of someone that had to go to make room for another. And all these things are just slowly just chess pieces moving on the board to align for the victory that's already been set. And so when these things happen, it was just, no, God told you it was going to happen. It's just a matter of time. And we might get frustrated because we don't see that time. But as you continue to read, you see God's promise slowly being fulfilled generation after generation. And they still don't fall in line perfectly. It says it right here. And it says it all throughout the Old Testament. Hey, no, he still didn't fall in line with exactly what God's instruction was. He didn't obey the law of the Lord. And so still seeing that, still seeing how they fall short, but God still honors those that he knows their heart. And he continues to reinforce that again and again and again. I just couldn't imagine some of the things that these men are called to do. Excuse me. And it's just, there has to be such submission to him in order to be able to enact or do these things. I hope to have such bold faith and know that I just hear the shepherd's voice, to know that everything that I do is just bringing glory to him. It doesn't matter. I don't have to reflect on anything outside of my submission to him. When you're walking like that, I mean, that's Eli, just take God taking you up to heaven. Say, when you're just so perfectly aligned, everything here, nothing here is going to hold you back. And so that's the kind of faith that I'm working towards, guys. But it can only be exercised, and it can only be given. And so I'm excited about that, even though I'm not always excited about that, because I'm becoming more and more aware of the process and the pain of leadership and the pain of being the head of the household and being called to pick up my cross and to lay down everything at the foot of the cross, and to make sure that when someone asks me, my job is to point the direction, and it's right back at Jesus. Say, hey, this is why I do everything. And he cares for me, and he loves me, and he loves my family, he loves all of you. And so that's the game plan. We're going to keep doing this. Man, I think we're a little bit more than halfway through the Bible. I've done a whole lot of these videos, so we're going to keep it going. On that note, have a great rest of your night. I had to think about what time of day it was here, so sorry. Have a great night. God bless. I love you. Jesus loves you. And I'll be back for chapter 11 of 2 Kings, where the header reads, Queen Athaliah rules in Judah. So have a good night. God bless, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.